The United States Federal Reserve is considering the creation of a digital dollar. Cybercurrencies have many supporters, yet critics warn they would be a privacy nightmare.
One currency expert claims the removal of cash would push America closer to a totalitarian state.
Satan is preparing the world for the Antichrist, and for that, he's setting up these beliefs and the kinds of systems that will be required by the Antichrist to rule the world. It's not something in the air. It's something already happening this very day. He causes all, both small and great, both rich and poor, both free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their forehead, so that no one may buy or sell, except he who has the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Revelation 13. Now, Revelation 13 is probably the most obvious to tell how Satan is preparing the world for the Antichrist, and one way to tell that is the introduction and the implementation of central bank digital currency, or the CBDC. The world is seeing a rise in the actual implementation of such currencies. One reason for that is to know when and how the citizens are using their money. This thing is basically introduced to have complete control over the people living in a specific or belonging to a particular nation. Now, that is something the Antichrist will do as well. That is, he will have the control over everything. The same thing is happening in Nigeria as well. Before moving on to further details, we'd like you to have a look at these clips to have a clear idea.
After a 3-week delay, Nigeria's digital currency is now legal tender. At its launch, President Muhammadu Buhari says the e-Naira will usher in opportunities for banks, customers, and the country's economy.
The use of central bank digital currencies can help move away more people and businesses from the informal into the formal sector, thereby creating the tax base of the country.
Many banks across the West African nation are refusing to accept the old Naira notes, hurting many people and their businesses. Commercial banks were seen turning down people's requests to replace the old notes, angering the public.
When we are talking about cashless policy, it's something that needs to be done in an adequate way, in such a way that once you open your apps, right now, I'm not sure whether we are ready for cashless policy.
It's affecting me because when you go to the bank to withdraw money, minimum you can be able to withdraw from the bank is 3,000. Just 3,000, and 3,000 cannot go a very long way for a business owner.
So it's pretty much clear that the Nigerian government has implemented their digital currency, and the Nigerian people obviously didn't want that. So, in order for their people to accept and have the digital currency, what they did was to go out and ban how much cash a person could take out in a day, which caused bank runs and left the people in such a state that they would have no other way but to adopt the new digital currency because they couldn't have enough of their money. And if you're wondering if the same thing can't happen in Western countries and in America, well, let us correct you there. There is actually a digital currency that will be coming online this year in the United States, known as FedNow. Now, what is that? FedNow is a new payment rail that the Federal Reserve is developing as a product for banking institutions. In turn, the banks will make FedNow capabilities available to their customers, including consumers, small businesses, enterprises, governments, and so on. And not only this, but the same is also happening in China. It was heard before that Beijing prohibited banks and payment companies from providing Bitcoin-related services, and investors reacted as if this were new information, but it was all a con. No one with any prior experience in China anticipated China to adopt Bitcoin or any other digital currency that they did not regulate. The dazzling glitters of Bitcoin shine brightly in people's eyes, and the same light distracts many people to this scary truth. For the past few years, governments throughout the world have sat back and watched to see what Bitcoin would imply for the global economy. There's evidence that governments, tax authorities, regulators, and global elites are now investing in the idea of using Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, or at least replicating Bitcoin systems, to advance their own interests. As a result, in the near future, we will see how governments and agencies attempt to gain control over digital currencies. Governments understand how tough it is to prevent or abolish cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. So instead of destroying Bitcoin, they may decide to use it for their own benefit. As the saying goes, if you can't beat them, join them. There's no way for any authority to allow such a good financial system to escape its grip. Now this makes a strong connection with the biblical prophecy mentioned in the book of Revelation. Revelation chapter 13 verse 17, so that no one can buy or sell unless he has the mark, that is the name of the beast or the number of its name. It's frequently assumed that a cashless society will be required during the tribulation in order for the Antichrist or the beast to control all buying and selling. And if you remember, it was just a few years ago when people couldn't buy or sell until they were part of these forced medical regulations. The same thing is happening today, and it's pretty much clear that this is one way Satan is preparing the world for the Antichrist. However, there are many other ways as well through which Satan is preparing the world for the Antichrist. Let's have a look at them too. Now this topic has a lot to discuss about, but if we pay close attention to the particular way Satan is making the world ready for the Antichrist, we will definitely talk about the persecution of Christianity. We as believers know that the Antichrist will battle against Christians, killing them and beheading them, and the persecution of Christianity will be accepted worldwide. As it's pretty much evident from the earlier clip as well that Christianity is actually the most persecuted religion in the world, and the Bible also talks about that. Revelation chapter 20 verse 4. Then I saw thrones, and seated on them were those whom the authority to judge was committed. Also I saw the souls of those who had been beheaded for the testimony of Jesus and for the word of God, and those who had not worshipped the beast or its image and had not received its mark on their foreheads or its hands. They came to life and reigned with Christ for 1,000 years. And the same is being said in Matthew chapter 24 verse 9, which states, Then you will be handed over to be persecuted and put to death, and you will be hated by all nations because of me. The hate towards Christians is becoming more like a normal thing in today's society, and it's definitely something we as believers should be concerned about. We are also seeing that it's being more accepted on a larger scale in order to attack Christianity. So, where is all of this pointing towards? Of course, it's referring towards the times when the world will be prepared and the Antichrist will come to rule over it. However, the ones who will refuse to accept him or deny to adopt the things he will talk about will be going through a lot of hardships and troubles, as mentioned in the biblical verses before. This situation also connects to the prophecy of the Antichrist being mentioned in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 verse 4, which states, Who opposes and exalts himself against every so-called God or object of worship, so that he takes his seat in the temple of God, proclaiming himself to be God. So, the Antichrist will declare himself as God, and he will set himself against God. He will do so by bringing everything, which he thinks is right, though it may appear false, and it will be. And all of this makes sense today if we pay close attention to everything that's happening in today's world. The thing is that Antichrist will not just suddenly rise up one day and start ruling the world. Everything will happen slowly and gradually, like a buildup, and we're seeing today that it's happening. So, is Satan preparing the world for the Antichrist? Well, in light of these events, we can say yes, he definitely is. He's setting up systems in the world which will eventually be led by the Antichrist himself, and that's happening right now, at this very moment. However, we should be clear about one thing, and that is, everything that the Antichrist will talk about will be nothing but a lie, and we as believers should remain steadfast to our faith in order for us not to be what he would want us to be. We should know that our final place is in eternal heaven and not this world, and so we should be prepared for everything that will happen when the Antichrist will come, in order for us to succeed and go to heaven with Jesus Christ. Another Bible prophecy that we will talk about here that seems like it's getting fulfilled and marking that Satan is preparing the world for the Antichrist is Jerusalem getting attacked and surrounded by armies. Luke chapter 21 verse 20. But when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, then recognize that her desolation is near. The same has also been referred to in Daniel chapter 11 verse 40 that says, At the time of the end, the king of the south shall attack him, and the king of the north shall come against him like a whirlwind, with chariots, horsemen, and with many ships, and he shall enter the countries, overwhelm them, and pass through. Now here, we're also told that many nations will descend on Jerusalem and attack Israel, and we are also aware of the fact that the Battle of Armageddon will also take place there. Now this is something we're also seeing today, that Israel is being surrounded, and how every nation wants to attack it and wants to take them over. Not only this, but the implementation of a one-world order and a one-world religion is also something that is getting set in the world today. That is also something through which Satan is making the world ready for the Antichrist. Of course, world leaders desire this greatly, and there are certain people like Klaus Schwab, who has been the chairperson of the World Economic Forum, wish to implement such a one-world government, and they're pushing for it as hard as possible. And this, obviously, is directly linked with what we have seen in Revelation 13, that no one can buy or sell without having the mark. It will be a world control of world governments and different economic systems. So as we see people coming out and talking about how beneficial and great it will be to have a one world leader, it makes absolute sense that slowly, gradually, and little by little, Satan is preparing the world for the Antichrist. But as believers, we should know that God is the ultimate power, and no other power in this world or in any other world is bigger than His. And He will eventually take those who bear and withstand the hard times to the eternal bliss and the glories of heaven. May the Lord show His mercy upon you all. With that, we'll end our video here. Let us know what your thoughts are on this in the comments below. If you enjoyed today's video, then make sure to like the video and don't forget to subscribe to our channel to keep up with the most amazing content. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.